Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you another Recent Reads video. I'm filming this on March 21st, which is a Saturday, and I'm sure everybody knows what's been going on. I actually have still been working. I work at a public library. We aren't closed to the public, but we've still been coming in and doing curbside drop-off and things like that. I've also actually been working at the health department answering phones for them. So, I've gotten a lot of questions about what's going on, but I'm trying to stay positive so far. I'm well, and I haven't heard of anybody in my direct circle that's gotten it yet. So we'll see what happens. And then, of course, I'm planning to post this next Friday, the 27th. So who knows what the world will look like then. But I hope everybody's doing well. But anyway, so before all this corona craziness happened, I finished 3 books. So I figured I'd go ahead and talk about them. The first book that I finished recently is A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. This is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell mysteries, and it takes place in the time of Queen Victoria. I want to say in like the early 1900s, and shoot, what is going on? Veronica Speedwell is a person that studies butterflies, a leopardist, and she is staying in a small English town taking care of her aunt who passed away. And the day of the funeral, she is actually almost kidnapped by a guy. She doesn't know this guy, and she is saved by another person who is a baron that knew her mother. And the baron escorts her to London and leaves her at the home of a friend of his named Stoker. And then several hours later, they find out that the baron has been murdered. So she and Stoker go on a quest, sort of, so to speak, to find out who killed the baron. And they also come to realize that it's related to Veronica's mother, and so the mystery is sort of interwoven together, and they find out the connection, and it's a really interesting mystery. Stoker and Veronica remind me a lot of Amelia Peabody and Emerson from the Amelia Peabody Mysteries by Elizabeth Peters. It's a really fun romp, and it's, a good Victorian mystery, so I definitely recommend it if you're interested, and I can definitely see myself reading the second one next year for March Mystery Madness. And because, of course, I didn't mention it, but March Mystery Madness is still going on, and I read that book for the read a book that was published in a year that is divisible by 5, and that was published in 2015. The next book that I finished recently was The Five, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. This is a nonfiction book that I read for the prompt to read a book with the word 5 or 5th in the title. Of course, you're supposed to read a mystery, but I figured I'd go ahead and cheat, so why not? This is what it sounds like. It's detailing the lives of the 5 women who were killed by Jack the Ripper. There was Polly, Elizabeth, Mary Jane, Annie, and, there's the last one. Kate. So those are the 5 women. And Hallie Rubenhold's main thesis is that when these cases were first, occurred and were being published in the press made it sound like that all 5 of these women were prostitutes because they all lived in the Whitechapel area, which is known for being an area where prostitutes hang out, and so it was assumed that Jack the Ripper was a prostitute killer, and there was an implication that these women were sort of, lower class, and, basically that their lives had less meaning. And she talked about, both in the introduction and the beginning, how this mindset of treating women as less than because of their work and because they were sex workers still continues into our culture today and has an impact on how we see sex workers in our present time. And so she's very interested in showing these women as full-fledged women and not just in the light of their profession. And so she talks about how each one of these women, most of them, there's only one of them, Mary Jane, who has been proven to be an actual prostitute. The rest of them, there's no evidence, especially because the written sources that come from the cases are all contradictory, and like a lot of the coroner proceedings weren't like fully published. It's just like secondhand accounts of what the sources said at these reports, at these hearings. So it's really interesting. So all of these women had full lives. Elizabeth was from Sweden, and she was listed in the prostitute register in Sweden, but the register was also for women that had abortions and things like that. And Elizabeth probably had an abortion. They don't know for sure, but there's a lot of evidence that shows that she might have been either in a relationship or raped by her employer in Sweden and then became pregnant because of that. And so she had to be on the prostitute register, and then eventually she came to Sweden. Annie was actually the wife of a stable man, like the head of the stable for a wealthy person in England. And so she actually had a very comfortable life, but she was an alcoholic. And so that was what happened with her. Mary Jane, of course, like I said, was a prostitute. She was also much younger than the rest of the victims, so she was involved with a lot of other things. Hallie Rubenhold, because there isn't a lot of sources, does talk a lot about like the social history of the time, talking about like the living arrangements and the women's roles during this period. So overall, it's a really fascinating book, and I definitely recommend it if you're interested. I learned a lot, and these women were also very interesting and definitely deserve to have their story told. The final book that I finished recently was The Satapur Moonstone by Sujata Massey, and this is the second book in the Perveen Mistry series, which is, of course, a mystery series. I actually got this book at the Texas Library Association conference last year. It's an ARC, and it was published in May of 2019, so it fits the prompt for March Mystery Madness to read the book that was published in May. This is following Perveen, who, when she is going to a very local, very rural community in India, where she is trying to talk to the grandmother and the mother of the local ruler. His older brother was found killed by a leopard, and so the current ruler is only 8 years old, and so the British government is serving as the regent for the 8 years while he grows up to be 18. And so there's some questions about his schooling and where he should go for his schooling. His grandmother wants him to stay local, like stay in the palace and continue being taught by the local tutor. His mother would like him to be put into a school in England. And so Perveen, because she could go visit them in Purdah, which is the isolation that women go into at this time. This is set in the 1920s, I believe, right after World War II, and so World War One. So Perveen goes, and while she's there, she comes to suspect that the older brother was not murdered, but was killed. Was not killed by a leopard, but was murdered. So it's about her exploring this case and getting evidence and seeing what the palace employees and what the mother and the grandmother are trying to conceal from her. So it's a pretty interesting book, and I did enjoy it, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first one. Currently in quarantine, when I'm not at work, I am reading The Lion King by Ruth Ware. This is Elizabeth's from Lizzie Faye Loves Books. Is read along for March Mystery Madness this year. So I'm almost done with it, as you can see. So I'll probably finish it today. But so far, I'm not really enjoying it. I find the characters super annoying, and I find the mystery to be super annoying as well. But I'm gonna finish it because why not? I'm in quarantine over the weekend, so I might as well get it done. So yeah, it's okay. I am enjoying talking to people in the Goodreads group though, so that part is very fun. So that's all I've been reading lately. I hope everybody else is reading some good books during your quarantine and that you're staying safe and that hopefully this dumb virus will clear out pretty soon and or they'll get a vaccine or something will happen. So yeah, I hope everybody's having a relatively good day and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!